lovely to see you.
Hi. You look gorgeous.
So, for anybody who's watching that's not doesn't know who I am or why we're even bothering doing this. Hi, Simon. My name's Angela Murray. My business name is Living Life in Colour, and it's all about art and colour and energy and good juju. And I'm a creative adventurer and guide. That's what I like to call myself. So as I adventure in art, I like to guide other people along with me. And my purpose is really to bring wannabe artists into the fold, to give it a go and just see where it takes you. And the interviews that I'm doing are with some amazing soulful artists. Thank you for being here. People that I've met along my journey who inspired me, as well as our good friends. And so today I really wanted to introduce Sharon Lamonica. We met, I think it could even be 9 years ago or 10. It was quite scary, at an art retreat in Bali, which sounds really flash, but it's not so far from New Zealand. And we met, it was an art retreat being run by Flora Bowley. So hi, Julie. So I wanted to just introduce Sharon because she's been on a bit of a journey with her art even since I met you. And so I'm going to let you introduce yourself. But yeah, if you want to give people a little bit of an idea of who you are and what you do.
Hi. Yes, we met 10 years ago, I think it was, Angela. Yes, and I've been on a journey as well. And I'm an intuitive abstract artist. And before that, I had gotten involved with lots of energy and crystals and Feng Shui. And I became a Feng Shui consultant. And then I started creating energy movers and malas and all of that stuff. But it still wasn't enough. It wasn't doing enough for me. And I felt like I wanted to come back to painting, and that retreat really opened me back up to painting again. And since then, I have now done painting full time. And what I've done is incorporate the energy into the artwork. So it also has a different layer to it when you put it in your space. So it's all about how you can change your space and change your energy to support yourself. And so I just love playing with paint and seeing what evolves off that canvas.
Yeah, I think that's the exciting bit actually, because I paint intuitively as well. So when I approach the canvas, I have no idea what's going to appear. I described it to somebody recently a bit like imagining you're a tap or a faucet, and the information comes from somewhere else. You're just the conduit for it to come through and onto the canvas. And when you get into your head and you try and control things, or you want to know what the outcome's going to be, it's like you turn it off. It's like you're gradually turning it down and down and down until there's nothing coming through. So I love talking to other artists like you who just actually go to the canvas to see what's going to come through, but without a subject in mind. Do you ever think about any kind of outcome? Like, do you go with any intent at all when you go to the canvas?
I usually mess up really badly if I try that. I may go forward with a color scheme in mind, but then again, I cannot paint realism. I cannot do it at all because it just doesn't work for me. It has to like show me which way it wants to go, what wants to move forward. And then I look at it and I see like when you stare at the clouds and you can kind of pick out images. Like that's what I do with the paint. And to try to have an image beforehand is It doesn't work for me.
Yeah, I hear you. I actually believe that the painting is the one that's in charge. So to get out, I'd say this to my students actually. If you're trying to control it, or you go with an idea of what you want to do, it's when I'm doing Dream Big, Paint Big, then it doesn't always work, because what's in your brain doesn't necessarily come through the end of the brush. It certainly doesn't for me. And so I learned long ago that actually it's the painting that's in charge. You just follow it. You just follow the energy of what it wants to be. And sometimes it's surprising, but I'm like you. I very rarely paint. I say things that look like things. It's mostly, I mostly paint abstract because maybe that's what's in here. I don't know. Yeah. So how do you use it for Feng Shui? I was really, I know before we met you were already doing that sort of thing, but, and I do believe in the whole idea of it, like energy in the painting, but how would you use it in somebody's house? So, yeah.
Well, Feng Shui is really an art that just takes your surrounding and creates a supportive, it just, whatever it is you want to do in your room, you're creating the environment to support you and what you want to do in that room. And there are different guas in your house. So, you know, there's like a family gua, there's a abundance gua, there's all different areas, and there's so many layers to this. But if you're really wanting to bring the energy up in a particular space or for a particular reason, you can focus on that. And there are colors, there are elements, there are shapes, it goes so deep. But most of all, the one thing is your intention. So once you start working with your intentions and actually placing objects in your home that bring you joy, bring you delight, and support that space, like say you put a gorgeous painting that means something to you, and then you put a chair and a table, and that's where you have your tea or you meditate, you can change the energy of your space.
Cool. Yeah, I can remember you saying something to me once about when you go through your front door, if the exit was directly in front, that was actually a bad thing, because the energy would basically go straight through and out. And yeah, I remember we went to look at a house that we were thinking of buying, and it was exactly like that. And I thought, ooh, maybe not.
Well, you can always change the energy of your space by putting potted plants and creating a way for the energy to move through those spaces.
Ah, right. Yeah. Yeah, it's absolutely fascinating. I love the fact that you've taken that background that you already had, and you've combined it with your passion for art and creativity. Because that, to me, that's really powerful, because you're literally following your own energy, whatever feels right for you. And I've watched your art over the years, and it felt like there was a sudden shift. Like suddenly you got in your groove. It was like you'd found your thing. So for me, it was beautiful to watch, and I love your artwork. I'm looking forward to when you get your website sorted.
Yeah, well, I have a landing page which will take you to an artwork archive website.
Perfect.
But yeah. So I also had an epiphany yesterday. And I am going to be doing something really fun going forward.
Cool.
And, like, I love energy and I love nature, and I'm diving into all kinds of Feng Shui courses about nature and healing the earth and biophilia, and all of that is separate from this.
Right.
So I decided yesterday I wasn't having enough fun. So I need to have more fun. So I'm going to be also doing some poppy, whimsy, crazy art. So that is going to come forward shortly.
That feels good. That sounds like good energy. And a completely different direction. I love that. I remember. Yeah, sorry.
I've always loved whimsy, and I don't know if you saw my video of Christmas, my Christmas tree. I have a huge collection of the glitter kissy fish. They have big lips that are all glittery, and I'm like, that's more of what I want. I want more fun, especially after last year. I need
Yes,
more fun.
yes. Yeah. So you've got those on your Christmas tree.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I've got souvenirs on my Christmas tree actually from whenever I've traveled. So I remember the fun one was getting it was a Christmas kangaroo. And I bought a fish from China actually as well. I do have one fish, doesn't have glitter lips. So just gonna say hi to, is it Karina? Oh, there's people I can never on here it doesn't scroll up when people are saying hi. So hi Karina, you're in Buenos Aires. Very nice. Hope you're doing well. Right, I had a bunch of questions I was going to ask you about. Well, what was your journey to being an artist? Like, did you do the whole art school thing, or
I
born into it?
My whole younger years, I was a total artist, and I took a million courses, and I went to a community college, and I took a bunch of art courses there, and
Yeah,
then I entered the corporate world, and I lost my soul. And I was in fine jewelry for about 23 or 24 years. And I just, at one point, I was just like, why am I doing this? I need to be creative again. So I
yeah.
started creating my own jewelry, which led me to crystals, which led me to energy, which led me to Feng Shui, which full circle took me back to painting.
It's funny how that happens. Yeah, I guess in some regards it's sort of similar. I was very arty, and then I entered the corporate world, and that sort of crushed it for about 20 years. And it was I then went into coaching, and at the end of one of the coaching courses that I did, he did a session called the art of coaching, and it was actually all around drawing and painting mandalas. And then I felt, yeah. So it was really, really weird. It's a very similar journey. You've frozen.
Oh no. Hold
We'll keep talking. So what, what keeps you coming back? What do you think it is that keeps you coming back to creating?
Oh, you can hear me, right? Okay. It is what I need to like live and breathe. And it's just, I cannot believe I wasted so many years of my life on other
Mm,
things, pursuing other things that I thought was the right direction at the time. But women of a certain age, as you know, we wake up one day and we're
yeah.
like, what was I doing with my entire life? And it's like, now it's all about, the next chapter is
Hmm.
all about really pursuing what is meaningful and what is going to bring joy into my
Yeah.
life and let me bring joy into other people's lives.
Yeah. It's funny how that happens, isn't it? Because you don't realize, but you give it away. You give yourself away. I know, because I was married for 20 years, and when we actually did finally separate, I had no clue who I was at all. Zero idea. In fact, we went to see a marriage counselor, and she said to me, "You're really not self-aware." And I looked at her and went, "I don't know what you mean." And that started a whole journey. That's how it eventually ended up in coaching. But you're right, you sort of give it away, and then suddenly wake up one day and then go, "What was I thinking?" Yeah,
Yeah, and I
yeah.
think you're doing such beautiful work out in the world where you're just
Thank
bringing
you.
people together and showing them how to be creative because it
Yeah,
is. And so
yeah.
many people are like, I'm not an artist. I don't know how to paint. And it's not about that. And
Mm-mm.
everybody is born an artist. And
Yeah,
we lose it
we
throughout
do.
our lives where if we're not, encouraged, it's just
Yeah,
lost.
yeah. I think part of that, I've had so many students come through, and I'll always ask the same sort of questions around when do they feel like they lost that ability or that belief in themselves, and it seems to be around the age of 12. And all I can think is that's the age where you're starting to become really aware of yourself, and you want to fit in, and you any small amount of criticism, however small, you start to take it on board, and you take it really personally, and it's such a shame that happens, and it can be completely. It could be somebody who thinks they're being constructive, but then they take that on board and go, well, I'm not doing really good work, I'm going to stop doing it altogether. And it's such a shame. So I don't actually teach kids. I have wondered about this. Maybe I need to teach 12-year-olds. Change the pattern.
Yeah. I have also been thinking about within my own community, starting to do family. It would be a painting for the family, but the children would partake in it.
Yes.
And at the end, they still get a piece of fine art, but they have their
amazing.
Yeah, their energy into it. So I'm working on that as well within the community.
Yeah.
But I definitely want to have, after last year, and I'm a total introvert, but I really need to break out a little bit and just really connect and have fun.
Yeah. Talking about that, with COVID, etc., how did you find, because previously, I guess, working in the corporate world, you would have been very much in your left brain, but now that you've moved into the whole art, creative side, how do you feel that you coped with the lockdowns, etc., and COVID, being more of a creative? I'm just curious, because I've observed something, but I just want to hear from you.
Well, I never really lived in my left brain. I never really got into it. And in the beginning, COVID, for an artist, it's not a big deal to I love to be home in my space and paint. But after a while, it was just so heavy, especially in America. It was super duper heavy here. And then I just missed going outside or having a drink. And what really helped me too was Flora Bowley. She immediately reached out to the community and said, I'm having a hard time and I want to support you. So twice a week she would have her lives, and I would just connect, and we would move and we would paint, and I'd be like, oh my God, this is helping me so much. But through COVID, I was able to really hunker down and focus and decide I wanted to go full force with my painting. So that's when I just, created my studio, and I was like, that's it, I'm done. I'm here. I figured it out, and I'm still figuring it out, but
it's all part of a bigger journey. Yeah, I did notice with a lot of my creative friends, they seem to manage better than my corporate friends. And I wondered whether it's because with creativity, as we know, you don't have any control over it. It does what it wants. You might have a plan, but it doesn't go the way that you're expecting. And I wondered, because we're used to that, having to switch and pivot, and just the fact that things don't go the way that you're expecting, that maybe we deal with it a little better. And I think a lot of my creative friends also have this belief that things can be better. You just keep going, things will be better. So yeah, it was just really interesting to watch the difference between my two different groups of friends. But yeah, and we were super lucky here in New Zealand anyway, that our lockdowns were fairly short, and we still got the borders closed. Anyway, that's a whole other story.
But it was funny to watch, my husband was working from home for the first time, and he would just pace the floors, and he's like, I have to get out of this house. And I'm like, so I was so used to being home and hunkering down, and it took him a while to get used to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was a bit because I work for a community group as well, and it was like when the lockdown was over, I was like, I don't know, I don't want to go back into the office. Can we not just do everything on Zoom?
Well, COVID did it did bring a necessary change to the world.
Yeah,
So I truly believe, as horrible as it was, it brought to light some really great things, which will change the way that we work in
yeah,
general. And I think it made every single person evaluate their life
yeah.
and how
I
they
think
live.
so. Yeah, I noticed with the organization that I work with, the level of trust of staff went up because they realized that people could work from home and still do a good job. And we still somehow managed to keep community going. If anything, we were actually more communicative because we were separated. And there's like 700 people in the organization that I work with. And I don't know, it just, for me, when you finally did go back to the office, you actually appreciated the people you worked with more as well.
Mm.
Whereas before, because you were contained in the same place with people that you'd not chosen, that can get a little bit touchy. So yeah, just this whole thing about people enjoying themselves and other people more and appreciating more gratitude. We need more gratitude
And less commuting.
and less commuting. Oh my gosh, well, we're saving the planet.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
so many things changed because people weren't commuting, and
yeah,
there were like
yeah,
dolphins swimming into places they were never before. The air was cleaner. So
yeah, yeah. Hopefully, we could do something about that. I was got a bunch of other questions I was going to ask you about. What do you think would be how do I put this? What mistakes do you think that you've learned from along the way during your creating or well one of them, yeah, sorry.
I think that what I've learned is to trust my intuition, to
Mm,
trust myself, and stop looking outside of myself. And when you take classes and courses, you're collecting,
yeah,
and you collect, and what you want to do is process that into your own voice. And
right,
once you've done that, it's time to trust yourself
yeah,
and take your own inspiration from every single thing that you've learned and looked at. And there are people that just won't stop taking courses.
yeah,
And it's great to keep fresh by doing that, but
yeah,
not depending on it. So that
yeah,
is one thing that I learned, is that
right,
I have everything I need within myself, and all I
yeah,
need to do is trust myself, trust that I have a voice, and what wants to come out on that canvas, if I trust it, it's going to come out great. And then the
yeah,
people that resonate with me and what I do will love it. And the
yeah.
people that don't, they're not for me.
No, no. There's a couple of things that resonated there. It's funny that you were talking about the like people not resonating with it. I remember putting some of my work into a couple of different local art shows, and people online get it, like in my creative community, but in the local art shows they just didn't get it. It was like, well, that's an example there. It to them it was a pattern. To me it actually has a lot of meaning. But because it wasn't a mountain or a ship or a scene of the countryside, it didn't resonate at all. And the first couple of times I put work in, I was a little bit disappointed that I didn't get anywhere. And then eventually I thought, well, actually, they're not my people. They're just not my people, and that's fine. I've sought out the people online more so than those that in the local area, and that's fine. But yeah, you don't resonate with everybody.
Yeah, and the
Yeah.
thing is to actually learn how to stop swimming upstream. So
Yeah.
to really go with your own intuition and truly believe in what you do, your joy will come through and it will
Mm,
be effortless,
yeah.
because I spent so many years exhausting myself trying to explain what I was doing or the energy, and it was not to the right audience. So,
Yeah.
now I'm understanding better that just go with your gut and enjoy yourself, and it will come if you're in flow.
Yeah. Yeah. You just allow it to actually present itself to you. All you need to do is, I say to my students, all you need to do is choose the color, choose the implement, because it's not always a brush. It could be your fingers or a, I don't know, cookie cutter, anything. choose the color, choose the implement, go for it. Just see what happens. And it will present itself. It'll decide what it wants to be. And there's something else you mentioned about the people continually taking courses. I remember having a discussion with Flora where she said that if you spend all your time doing other people's courses or watching other people online creating and you're not doing it yourself, then you're not growing yourself as an artist. And I thought, wow, actually, that makes perfect sense because to your point, doing the courses is fantastic because you can gather things to put in your tool belt, but at the end of the day, your art will be your art. Whatever comes through you, because everyone's got a different background and yeah, different colors and all the rest of it. But yeah, if you're spending all your time watching other people, then you're not actually dipping your toe in and creating your own art. And I thought that was very profound, actually.
And that's the
Yeah,
one thing you'll never learn from any art school, art course, nothing. It's that nobody can teach you your own voice.
very good point. Yeah. And it changes over time as well. I think you sort of mentioned that before.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there are elements in my paintings that I wouldn't say are consistent, but they pop in quite on a regular basis. For some reason, I'm a circle girl. Even when I try to move away from it, I actually painted. I painted these paintings which had a gold background, and then the next thing I found myself just creating this big circle around it, and it became a big golden globe. And I thought, no matter what I do, there's a circle. There's always a circle. So I've just decided, that maybe that's my thing. As you can see from behind,
I
they're all
love it. I
circles.
love the artwork behind you. It's gorgeous.
Thank you. That one's a bit of that one I've just sort of started. But this one I love. Somebody said it looked like toffee apples or popcorn.
Oh,
Whatever. That's
beautiful.
something else actually. I try not to title my works,
Oh,
but
yeah.
especially when I'm selling them. Mainly because people will look at them and they'll see what they see. Whatever my intent was or whatever I was feeling at the time, they might not see that. So then they say, oh, it looks like whatever. It looks like joy or it looks like abundance. And I'll go, okay, cool.
I just heard a story of somebody putting a painting up in a gallery with a blank title and asking people to give it their own title to see what they
Yeah,
see in it.
yeah. Because we all see something different, and that's the joy of art, I think. But I feel like when I give it a title, it then puts it in some kind of box. And also that's a real excuse because I hate having to title works anyway. So don't give it, yeah, untitled number 25.
And some people resonate so much just with the title or the story. So
Yeah,
they'll be drawn just by that too. So
yeah,
it goes both ways all the time.
yeah. I do. If a painting speaks to me and I know what it is and it names itself, I will name it. But otherwise, I just leave it up to the viewer. I have previously, when I used to do paintings of goddesses, And I wouldn't necessarily name them, and I would actually put it out to my followers, like what would you call her? And sometimes some of the names were really amazing, but often I found that whoever named her would often be the person who ended up buying her as well, because she resonated with them. But I've gone back to more abstract. I found that was a period of time. So it's not that I can't do it, it's just I don't necessarily choose to paint those things. Anyway, one of the questions I was going to ask you, I've got a list of some things. What tips would you have for new artists, for people who are just starting out? I know you've mentioned a few things as we've gone along.
I would say just try to just be open and play. Just play and have fun, and do not worry about what is happening. It's the experience of the creativity coming through you, which is going to really, it's going to change you. So if you just let yourself go and don't worry, and like even that exercise that we did where we painted blindfolded.
Yes.
You know, it just gets stuff on the canvas, and use your hands, get dirty, play, just pick an emotion, pick a color, and then slap it on that canvas and see what happens. Yeah. So for new artists, just have fun, learn, be inspired by what lights you up, and then don't have any expectations about what's happening. It's really just building the creativity and being able to express. Yeah,
that's really, really good advice. I think play is the most important thing when it comes to creating, because that's when you're actually following the energy, the flow of how the painting wants to come out. As soon as you start taking yourself a little bit too seriously, that's when it starts to go slightly awry. I do find when I'm teaching that people can be more flowy at the beginning, and then as it gets closer to the end, when it's nearly finished, they can get a lot more focused, which is fine, as long as they're not then getting too precious about their painting. I often, like, I might say I'm running an 8-week course at the moment. I might get to week 4 and someone goes, "Oh, I don't think I want to paint over any of this because I like it." And then and it's like, we've got another 4 weeks to go. That's fine. You can start another canvas. But I always challenge them to actually think about, do you like it or do you love it? Because there's a big difference between the two. Do you like it and you're afraid to do something that you think might somehow make the painting something that you're not going to like? Or do you absolutely love it? In which case, you know, I would never say paint over it. You should keep it. But yeah, and that idea that you have to let something you like go to let something you love come in. And sometimes that's just enough for them to be brave enough to go, no, I'm going to keep going, because there's a whole other level that they can get to. So to try and move them from playing safe to actually, you know, playing big, if you like. Yeah, it's quite fascinating to watch the journeys.
And a good tip is to take a photo.
Yeah.
Take a photo and save the photo. And because you can't build your layers and get the dimension and the texture unless you keep moving. And if you try to keep that one spot too precious, you're ruining the painting, because you're not doing the whole thing at once. I don't know how to explain it.
Yeah, it's like that idea of, if you keep one bit, you've done 3 layers for an example, and there's one bit you quite like, so then you don't touch that bit and you keep developing the rest of the painting. Then the rest of the painting is all developed, but this bit stopped at layer 3. I guess that's sort of what you mean. You're not bringing it all together as a cohesive thing. Yeah. I
And
lost my
even
words.
in Feng Shui too, if you're so afraid to get rid of something, an object, because it has meaning, but you really don't want it or don't need it or don't have room for it, take a photo. Take a photo of it
Ah,
and frame the photo, and
and
then
then pass it
let the
on.
piece go.
I love that idea. I remember having a conversation with a friend. She had these little, I was staying at her home, and she had these little figurines on her windowsill, and they weren't her. Like, they didn't match anything else in the house. And I asked her about them, and she said, "Oh, they were given to me by an aunt. I really hate them, but I feel like I have to keep them because they were like a bequest." And I said, "Oh my gosh, if that was me, if I was your aunt, I would feel absolutely mortified that you wanted to hold on to something that you didn't like because I had given it to you." But
Yeah,
I love that idea. Just take a photo and then let it go. So you don't physically have to have everything.
right.
Actually, there's a few things around, I'm just thinking, there's a few things around my house I could do that with.
Well, that's actually a huge thing in Feng Shui. It's we
Yeah.
hold on to so many objects because
Yes.
someone gave them to us or
Uh,
they were a family heirloom. But it's
yeah.
all about the energy that that object brings up when you look at it. And you
Yeah.
really only want to surround yourself with things that have, you know, good energy and have a good feeling when you look at them. And if they don't, get rid of them.
Yeah. Yeah, because I'm quite good at tidying up the rest of the house, but my studio is like, I guess, not my hoarding space, but it's like everything in here is precious. But actually, you're right. I could very happily go through here and go, oh, actually, I don't really need that. Yeah, let somebody else have it. And there's also an element of joy in actually giving things away. I love giving stuff to charity shops. Yeah. Somebody new joined. Hello. Yeah, I love giving things away because then that means that object means something to them and will have another life. Whereas if I just leave it stuffed in the cupboard, what was the point in keeping it? Yeah, let somebody else enjoy it. So, oh, you've inspired me. I did watch, was it Marie Kondo?
Mm-hmm.
I've watched a couple of her programs. I've learned how to fold.
I don't have the patience to fold
You
a
know,
fitted sheet
well,
properly.
the only thing I'd say about that is all that's happened is I've managed to cram more stuff in my drawers because now it's all nicely folded. So I'm not sure that actually worked for me. Misha's just saying that studio space is sacred.
Mm-hmm.
That's actually a good question. What do you before you start painting? What do you do in your space?
Well, believe it or not, being a feng shui consultant, I am a messy, messy creative. So I'll try to clean my space up a little bit. I organize things in my madness, in my organized way. And then I try to just get calm.
Yeah.
And, you know, if I need to do a meditation or if I need to just breathe and be quiet. And a lot of times when I start a painting, I'll have like dance music, very uplifting, and I'll be wild with what I'm doing. And then I stop, especially if I'm finishing and I'm detailing, and I'll just listen to like singing bowls or
Yeah,
chanting or nothing. So it's
yeah,
this wild, just different energies for different times. And
yeah.
some days I'm just so sensitive to noise. I don't want anything, and not even not anything. I'll have to put headphones on because
Wow.
any noise will be driving me crazy. And then especially
Yeah,
leaf blowers outside, almost like, oh my God, I
yeah.
can't concentrate.
We moved to we're now rural, so the loudest it gets, I guess, is cows. I don't mind those so much, but I'm with you. I like to listen to music when I'm painting. Quite often, I listen to music that either it has no words or it's in another language that I don't understand, and I'm just enjoying the beat of the music because I find as well that the words in songs can sometimes push me down a certain path, which is not necessarily what I'm wanting to paint. So yeah, I sometimes have to be quite careful with the music that I choose. And then other times I might have something like Uptown Funk on.
Yeah, yeah, I get
And
it.
just bounce around.
Have you ever had a day where nothing like felt right to you musically and you just had to turn it all off?
Yeah, track after track after track. It's like, no, not that, not that, not that.
Yeah.
Thank goodness for Spotify.
Yeah, and then I just shut it off and I'm like, that's better.
Yeah. And it's funny because it's even when you go back to music that you like, that you've played before, and then suddenly one day it's just not the right, it's not the right vibe. So yeah, but no, I do like music, but I think you're right. When it comes to when you get into those finer details, sometimes you just need that chill. The other thing I do in my space, I've got sage that I'll burn just to clear energy. And especially when I used to share my studio and I'd have other people coming through it on a regular basis. I actually had somebody who did energy clearing on actually the whole of that house before I sold it, because I thought, oh my goodness, so many people had come through with because I was doing life coaching as well, and I was aware that potentially that energy could be hanging around. So this probably, well, won't sound crazy to you, but might to some of my friends. This idea of actually having the house cleared to make sure that it was brand new, fresh energy for whoever came to look at it. And I think the right people bought the house as a result of that.
Yes, I
Yeah.
remember you saying that. And I also
Yeah.
do that. I forgot to tell you, I have an altar upstairs and I have an altar down here in the studio, and I light my candles before I do anything with specific intentions for each candle. So I start the day like that, and then
Yeah.
I'll walk around and I ring a bell after I say my intentions to set them. And then I do have Palo Santo down here. I have sage. I have my
Yeah.
candles. So yes, I like to do some of that energy work first.
Yeah. I think it's that idea of clearing the space mentally, physically. I mean, not tidying everything because, you know, we're creatives and we've got stuff all over, but actually just clearing enough space. But that mental, energetic clearing, right? This is my sacred creative time. I think that's super important, actually. Even if you're painting at your kitchen table, to have some kind of ritual that creates that space around you, because not everybody's lucky enough to have a studio, have a crystal or light a candle, like you said. Just create that space and send the kids out with dad or whatever.
You have to create the space so that if you want to, I call it channeling, when you're connecting and letting the energy come through you. But you can't
Yeah.
do that if it's, you know, if you're not prepared and open to receive.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. You've got to create that space to do it. Yeah, Misha was just saying that's her way to tidy as well. I don't know if I had any other questions other than how do people find you?
Oh, so right now my preferred way is through Instagram. So it's
Right,
Sharon Lamonica Art.
right.
So
I'll post it in the
okay.
comments as well on here, and I'll also be emailing. I didn't tell you this bit, but I'll be emailing this out to my database so they all get to see you as well, and I'll put it there. Yeah.
So I have started this year out pretty quietly and slowly. So I haven't been posting a ton. I've been
Yeah.
recentering myself and
Mm.
refocusing, and I'm going to be expanding soon.
I can't wait to see what happens. It's going to be, I love the idea that you're going whimsy for a start.
Oh, I love it.
That's so cool.
Just like, yesterday, I just said, you know what? I'm not having enough fun. Like,
Yeah.
it needs to change.
Yeah. Actually, the guy who taught me to coach, I can remember him saying that if you're not having fun, then there's no point in doing it. So, Misha's just saying we're so excited to watch you bloom. Yay! Be exploding onto a screen near you soon.
I feel like I have such different facets where it's like I can be so quiet and so deep on one side, and the other side I'm like, ah! I just want to like have fun and have glitter pose, you know, it's so different.
Actually, that's a good point. I can remember thinking that if you were an artist, you had to find your style and stick to it, or maybe just develop on that style. And what I found really difficult was I was going from painting really big canvases and doing this kind of stuff to painting pictures which were about this big of girls with very detailed, with big eyes and like made with watercolor, and I couldn't, in my own mind, I couldn't actually understand, like, why is it that I go from this to that to something else? And then remember talking to another artist who said, well, because you're a creative and we don't like to get boxed in. And who was it that set the rule that said you just do one kind of art? So since then, I just really go with whatever I'm feeling, whether I'm journaling or creating on canvas, or I love playing with watercolors. And so I've stopped trying to think of creating a body of art and just create how I'm feeling, and I'm painting for me and I'm not painting for other people. If other people enjoy it and they want to buy it, then that's fantastic. I believe that paintings always go to the right people, but if I was to just get into, it's a bit like painting paintings that will go with people's decor. I'll do the same painting, but I'll do it in several different colorways so it will match your lounge suite. I don't think so.
Yeah. I think that once you hit your 40s, you start to kind of get, you know, an idea that you don't have to really go with the flow anymore, and that what you want kind of matters. And then once you hit 50, you're like, oh, hell no. You're like, no, I'm not wasting any more energy on that direction. And it's going to bring me joy, whatever I'm going to be. Like, it better be for me. And, you know, even if you have your family and all of that and your responsibilities, you still have to feed yourself.
That's a very good point. That is a very good point, and a good place to end. Thank you so much for being here today. We haven't spoken enough. Yeah, we'll have to catch up for a painting date. I know we've mentioned this before, but just so that we can paint and have a cup of coffee and just have a chat without other people watching. But anyway, it didn't feel like other people were watching today, even though I know there are. And thank you for everybody who's joined us. I know a couple of people had trouble and ended up getting booted out, which is a shame. So hopefully they'll get to see the replay. I got a little message to say they got kicked off. Oh well, yeah. Technology. But thank you so much for today. It's been fabulous.
Thank you. Thank you. Good to see you.
Yes, keep posting.
I will.
Okay.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.